Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and in this video what I want to do is I want to do like a mini build. So basically what I recently did is I created this template. So this is a template for just like, doing a quick HTML, CSS, JavaScript page that has HTMX, Alpine, jQuery kind of already all set up and ready for you to use. So I'll put the link to this in the video description, so that way if you want to use this template you can. Good stuff. But what I'm going to do is just kind of walk through using it. So first thing we should do is probably clone the template. So actually make this a template. There's a cool little feature here in GitHub where you can take a repository and actually turn it into a template. This is useful because if you plan on building a lot of websites using a similar starting place, you can create the starting place, check this little template box, and then you have this use this template button. So then what I can do is I can now say I want to create a new project using this template, and I can just call it, we'll call it API build, because I plan on using a public API. So I'll hit public, and that's going to create a copy of this repository. So what I plan on doing is building a website that incorporates a public API. So we're going to walk through the process of selecting an API and then kind of building out the site. But last thing I want to do is just clone. So see, now I have this new project that's generated from my template. How cool is that? So now I'm going to hit go to code, get the URL. Again, use the SSH URL if you have SSH set up. If you have HTTPS set up, then use the HTTPS URL. Okay. So I'm going to copy the URL because I have SSH set up, so I'm going to use SSH. If you don't know that you have SSH set up, then you probably don't. It's not something you would accidentally have set up. So I'm going to go here, open up my terminal, and I am going to do a git clone and then paste the URL of the URL I want to clone, and that cloned the repo. There it is. See right there, API build. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my I'm going to reopen VS Code in that folder because it's just easier to work that way. So I'm going to open and go to where I have that folder. Open that folder up and see here I have all the files. So see here I have the index.html that has all the things brought in, along with our own JavaScript file and CSS file. Okay. Now on top of that, we have a folder for the main CSS file, but any other CSS files you'd want to use, JavaScript files, and a folder for partials, which are going to be like little chunks of HTML that we may want to bring in with HTMX. Okay. So all that is there. For now, let's go choose an API to work with, to build a little mini app with. So I'm going to Google free public APIs. Okay, I'm going to avoid this GitHub repo. I've used this in the past, but like a lot of the data is kind of old and whatnot. I'm going to avoid that article because it just basically points you to different rapid APIs. Looking for one that has like a 2021 date on it. Okay, let's look at this one. Nope, not that one. Was it this one that I'd like to look at? Let's see here. No, oh, good. This is not only free APIs, but the ones with no auth needed, so that saves us time. It's just APIs we can just call. Okay. And that's a decent sized list. So what I'm going to do, let's take a look, see if I see anything that calls out to me. Let's just use this. I think this is the one I think I might want to use. What it is this one's for like looking up zip code information. Okay. And what basically you can do is you can put in your zip code, and then it gives you a bunch of data on your zip code. So we're just going to create a page where someone can enter in their zip code and get information on the zip code. Okay, so theoretically, I'm going to read the documentation. So basically, here it shows you like what the URL should look like. So it's APIs, the country, and then the postal code. So I'm going to use this. We're going to focus on US zip codes. So let's try that out and see what the data looks like. Okay, and then this is what you get back. Okay, that works for me. Okay. So let's see here. So what I'm going to do is let's just start setting up the page. So we're going to say like H1. Look at our, zip code, Alex's zip code lookup app. Okay, and then meanwhile, I might as well actually also have this open up with live server so I can kind of see it evolve. Actually, I want to get rid of all this like pre-existing code. So let me just do that. H1 Alex's zip code app. Okie dokie. And let's see here. Then what I'd like to do is we're going to have this main tag. That's where we're going to be where we put the information about the zip code. And then we're going to have a div, which will have give it an ID of form, because this is where we're going to put like the form to fill out. Okay, and basically the forms will just be an input. Okay, so we're just going to say label, because accessibility. So we're going to say search for USA zip code, and then here's where we'll put the input tag. Type equals text. Okay, and that's going to be the only input I think I need, so let's just see how that's looking. Okay. So I can type in and look for zip code. Yay. Okay. And actually, do I want to do it that way? Yeah, I want that. That's fine. You can do like some fancy validation stuff, like see if I can remember how to do like text validation. Actually, now that I think about it, I think text HTML input, I think there might actually even be a zip code input box. Input types, here we go. Zip code a thing. No. Okay. Let's see here. HTML validation for zip code. Because usually you can find these little validation rules. Okay, what should be used for zip code? Okay. Let's see if someone gives you the actually. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So basically what you do is you have this pattern property that can be put on the input, and what it does allows you to specify like what it should look like. So see what this is saying it should be numbers 0 through 9, 5 letters. So I'm gonna nab that. So this way you can't. It'll tell you if you're setting it up right. So like basically if I try to put like, well technically it won't validate till I submit, but basically it knows what to look for. It'll complain if I put the wrong stuff and then submit the form. So on that case I should probably put this in a form tag. Form. Okay. Control Z. Enter. Control. Let's cut this out. Okay, and then we're also going to want an input for submit. Type equals submit. Okay. We'll put value search zip. Because technically the value is what shows up on the submit button for the submit input. So search zip. There we go. Okay, that's looking all good. So that's all fine and well. So let's see here. Okay, what kind of data am I getting back? Do I still have that one window open? That's right here. I want to open that up in a separate window just so I can have that for reference. Okay. Let's use this for that. Okay. So that we can see kind of. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. Okay, so we need to make it where when you hit submit on this button that it goes and makes the API call. So we need to head over to our JavaScript file, and I'm going to go save that, create some, say my DOM elements that I'm going to be referring to a lot. So I'm going to want the input button, or I want the form actually first. So since I'm going to be using jQuery, I'm going to use the $signs in my variables, just so that way that's just the jQuery convention. So const form equals $, and I'm looking to get the form element. Const input equals $. I want the input that has the attribute of type equals text, because there's only one of those. Okay. And those should be the two elements I need there. Trying to think if do I need anything else. I think that's pretty good. Okay, and now what I want is that anytime you click on the button, so $form dot on, so whenever you click on the form, what I want to happen is click form on, we need to pass in a function, event, pass in this little ditty there, event.prevent default to prevent the page from refreshing. Okay, and then we can do the API call. So I would do $.ajax, and basically I'm going to use string interpolation. So I'm going to use the backticks, and if we're going to copy this URL, okay. The only difference is that I don't want this zip code to show up. So what I'm going to do is, like, right before we do this, I'm going to go grab the zip that someone typed in the input. So zip equals $input dot val, because that's how we grab the value from the input using jQuery. And then I'm going to inject that value right here in the URL, because again I'm using backtick, so I can do that. Zip. Okay, so that way it always looks for the zip code that you searched for. And then here in the .then we can define what we do with that data afterwards. So we'll just say data. Okay. And then here what we'll do is start off by just console log the data. Let's just make sure that we're getting it, and then the form is working. Okay, so I'm going to open up my DevTools console, and basically 3, actually it's like 32789. That's my zip code. Oh, see, it's still now. Notice how that refreshed. That means I didn't do something right. Okay, it refreshed the page when I clicked the submit button, which is the default behavior of a form, and technically it should be doing that because I am doing event.prevent default. I don't see any typos in there. So the question is, am I actually getting the form? Console.log $form. Am I actually getting what I think I'm getting? Okay, so I'm not. So see here, length 0. So that tells me that this is not successfully, which tells me, yes, I forgot to put the defer keyword on my app.js. Okay, so that's going to be the issue there. Now let's take a look. Now we're looking good. Okay. So 32789, because what happens is that I was grabbing the form element before it existed. Okay. And there we go. Okay, so we got the data. So see, it worked. Okay, so we're getting the API data. Good. Okay, good. So that's all fine and good. Okay. So now we'll decide what kind of data what we want to show there. And let me just do something else. I want to do like data dot to string. I forget if that's a function here. So if I do 32789, do I get the string version of? Oh yeah, I get that. Bleh. Not what I want. Okay, that's fine. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to update this main tag with those details. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably refer to that a bit. So I will also grab that up here. Main equals. So I don't think I have any other main tags. So we can just grab it by the name main. So now I can just say, hey, main.html. That way I don't have to create a whole bunch of elements. I can just do this. I can just say, let me just change the HTML on the page and just pass in a string with the HTML that I want. Okay, and I'll just write my HTML right there in between those backticks and interpolate the data as needed. Although, yeah. Okay, so let's see here. How do I want the data to appear? I'm going to want there to be a div. Okay. Let me see here. Do I already have divs? Yeah, I have a div there with the ID of form. So I'm going to want a div here with an ID. Well, the ID doesn't really matter too much. Okay. So I want this div, but I'm going to give this div some Alpine X data equals. And then basically all I really want here is just to like, is it visible or not? So I don't really have any plan to do anything more than that. Show false. Okay. And again, this here, what we're going to do is we're going to have the zip code. So let me take a look at the data, the way it shows up. Here we go. So again, this would be like data.postcode, data.country, data.abbreviation, data.places. Okay. Of course, they use the space in the key, so I can't use dot notation because there's a space there. So we're going to say, we'll just put the place name. So we're going to sit there and say data dot, well actually, again, it has a space, so I have to do this. Post code. Then I'll put the United States. Data.country. There, I can use dot notation because, again, there isn't a space in the key. Okay, so see, the key does not have a space in it. I'm not going to bother with country abbreviation. Oh, the spaces. You're killing me, Smalls. Okay. And then here we're just going to say, put like a H2 or H3 is fine. And here we're going to put like place name. Okay. So data dot places 0, because it's only one thing in the array and I only care about the first thing in the array. Dot places dot 0, because we can see here again, here's the array. When you look at the data, I can see the square brackets. So I see places as an array, and this is the first object in the array. And that's important because that's going to determine how I have to type here to access that data. Because again, this object here is my response from the API, so that's this data piece right here. So I use this to refer to how I'm going to access the pieces. Data dot, well actually no, I can't use dot notation because again it has a space in it. So I have to do this. Place space name. And then curly bracket. And then H4. We'll say there's going to be data that places at 0 again, so I'll just copy that so I don't have to type all that over again. Okay. And we're going to say dot state. Okay. Then H5 is where we'll put the latitude and longitude. H5. Say like lat long. So here we'll put dot latitude. And then here we'll put dot 5 data dot longitude. Okay. So that's what I want to appear. But then right below it, what I want is a button that says show data. Because I want this div to appear. X show when show is false, when show is true. So this div will only appear when that's the case. And then here we'll put X on click. This says basically show equals not show. Basically toggle true and false. Okay, so let's see if this all works. So technically I should be able to look up my zip code, and then it's going to change the HTML in the main tag, so this should appear. Well, technically the button should appear. 32.789. See, there's the button. Then I should click the button, and then the data should appear. Ah, I didn't like that. Show is not defined. Oh, because it's not in the div. Okay, so I got to rearrange this a little bit. Because basically to access that X data, it's got to be within the div, which means I'm going to want to wrap all this stuff up in a different container. So say article. I'll put this article tag around all the data. And then I will put this X show X in the article tag. Okay, so now let's try this again. 32789. Show data. And there it is. Okay, so cool, that works. And I can do this like with like where I used to work. Search zip. Okay, New York City. Okay, and I can do that. It's kind of doing the thing. Okay, we'll style it to make it a little bit more sensical. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll make a little about the author. Okay, so what we will do here is we'll just do like H1 Alex Merced. I'll inject some lorem ipsum text because I don't feel like typing in a whole bunch. Lorem. Okay, some lorem ipsum text. Okay, so this is usually what we use as web developers as filler text. Okay, and that's going to be there. And what I'm going to do is below the form, actually right here, below that div, I'm going to create a, we'll use an aside tag, just because it's something I haven't used yet. Okay. And then below that aside tag will be another button that says, you know, about the author. Okay.
And then we'll put the HTMX stuff there. So we'll say HX. When you click on, when this thing is triggered, I want it to go fetch /partials /sample.html. That's what it's going to go get. And then what I want it to do, I want it to be triggered by a click. And then I want it to be triggered by a click. And then I want it to be, what's the thing I'm looking for? The target. The target's going to be the aside tag. And then HX, the swap will be the inner HTML. Okay. Cool. So that should already work. So I should be able to go here and say about the author. And there we go. About Alex Merced. And then I can go over here. 32789. There. Show data. There we go. Okay, so we have like a thing. Now we just have to make it like look pretty. Okay, again, because this is all like a, didn't put too much thought into this. But let's see here. H1. Now for the body, I want to do a few things. I want to center everything. Text align. Center. So just center all the things. Yep. Thank you. Okay. And I want some padding in the body. So let's just say 40 pixels. There we go. Now let's go take care of that H1. Okay, let's say font family. Let's just choose something different. Impact. Okay. For the H1. Okay. Background color. I want to use, just say aquamarine. So those are all H1s. Okay. And well, let's actually, that kind of looks horrible. Color. Let's use blood. Oh, there was a blood red. Is that a thing? I guess not. I think I'm thinking of crimson. Yeah, that's fine. But then the color of the font will make white. So that means the contrast is better on that color. Good. Okay, and then let's just round the corners on that a little bit. So border radius, say 7 pixels. Just enough to, yeah. Okay. And let me just double check. This is what these are: H3s, H4s, and H5s. Okay. So back to the CSS file. Then let's style the H3. Actually, really, I want to just style the buttons. Those buttons is what's killing me. Okay, first let's just do some margin. I want 10 pixels of margin around these buttons. Just give them some space to breathe. Let's do even more. Let's just do 40. Yeah, that works for me. Okay, and I want there to be some padding. Let's say 15 pixels. There we go. That makes it a little bit less claustrophobic. The font size, let's make that a little bit bigger. Font size 1.1 EMs. Nice. Font weight, make it super bold, 900. Okay, and then let's just make the colors better. Okay, background color, crimson, color white. Now we want them to kind of have like a nice like transition, so you know you're hovering over them. So see, like this is all fine,
And also I would just like the pointer, actually was it the cursor, so that way to be pointer. So now when you hover over it, you get that effect. Okay, so that's a little bit nicer. And I want to make it where it can like change colors when you hover over it, so that way it has like a little bit nicer effect. So to do that, I'm going to put in a transition. So that allows it to like smoothly transition. So I'm going to say I want the background color to transition in 0.3 seconds. And then I also want the color to transition in 0.3 seconds. There we go. And then we'll do a separate style, button hover, so that way when we hover over the button, we'll swap the colors. Color for the font color will be crimson. Okay. The background color, put the color, it's going to be white. We're going to need a border. 3 pixels, solid crimson. Okay, so let's see what happens. See, I get this kind of cool effect. That looks nice. So this is, this is already kind of starting to look better. And actually, now that I think about it, the H1s need padding. Padding 10 pixels. Yeah, that looks a bit better. Okay. So you guys start to see the idea. So like then I keep styling it. I probably want to apply this button style to the input as well. So I'd probably do something like this. Like also apply this to the inputs. That way the inputs look nice. And then I will apply this also to the inputs. But actually I want that input on hover. That's fine. So now I can search the zip, hit show data, and there I see a zip code. So let's see if I refresh the page. I type in 32789, search zip, show data, 79, and if I want to see about the author, there we go. Okay, and again, this is kind of contrived. I kind of like try to find reasons. You don't have to go out of your way when you're building your apps to find reasons to use things like Alpine and HTMX and jQuery. You use them when it makes sense, depending on what you're trying to build your website on. But the point is to kind of just illustrate like how does it all look like when you're using them all together. But yeah, and then again, I'm going to put a link to this website, which is a link to a lot of good free public APIs that are really good starter APIs to kind of get started working with APIs. I'll link to the template, so that way you guys can use this template if you want to try to do your own build. And then I also link to this code for this particular build that I did here. So thank you guys for watching. My name is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Have a great day and enjoy.